Welcome to Founder Radio. I'm your host, Hugo. In this podcast, you'll hear in-depth conversations with the globe's most exciting company founders. We'll talk about their ideas, their successes, their challenges, and their learnings along the way. At Founder Radio, we celebrate founders, and we believe that innovative founders are critical to deal with the challenges humans face. They are society's explorers and work in uncertainty to expand our practical knowledge each and every day. Building something from scratch requires creativity, intelligence, conviction, and endurance. Get inspired and learn from those that are changing the world. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to Founder Radio. Today I'm looking forward to truly exciting conversation with a founder that's really pioneering something new, something revolutionary. His name is Fred Jordan. He's working on a biocomputing platform. So that means doing compute like on your laptop, but then based on neurons like the neurons we have in our brain. The human brain is exceptional in terms of the amount of compute it can do, given very, very, very small energy usage. So if he can pull that off, that will be truly revolutionary for how we use compute and how much energy that would use. Fred is born in France. He lives in Switzerland. Early in life, he obtained a PhD in signal processing. He's also the founder of AlpVision. He founded that company in 2000. It's an anti-counterfeit product company. And in 2014, he founded the company that's working on bioprocessors. That company is called FinalSpark. Fred is not here just for fun and games. He's raising 50 million euros for FinalSpark to accelerate the development of the biocomputers that they're working on. Fred, it's great to have you. Welcome.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to discuss with you. That's wonderful.
My pleasure.
I love it.
Tell us all about biocomputing. What makes it so interesting?
I think you already summarized very well, actually. The first thing is that it's really new. Considering that a neuron could be a little computing machine, like a transistor. Okay, this is a new vision of the things. But you're right, the purpose here is to build the first bioprocessor. This is really our objective.
And could you tell us about the remote research platform that you launched in May 2024?
Well, yes. What is funny is actually this came from the COVID. Okay, because initially it started like this: that we were doing experiments, and then the COVID came, and we couldn't come to the lab. Okay,
so you had
because of this, we had to develop new systems so that we could work from home remotely on the lab. Mm-hmm. And at this point, we had really a research platform that we could teleoperate. And then we asked ourselves, actually, maybe there are a lot of people in the world who would be interested to help us on this new topic of biocomputing and really using our neurons to make some experiments. Mm-hmm. And we asked to a number of universities. At the end, we had 34 that wanted to come. So it was very unexpected. So we give access for free, So it was like, so we selected 9. Right now, they're working. It's really 24/7. Okay, they book some access and they use it to perform their own idea, their own experiments for biocomputing research.
That's amazing. You got quite some attention for opening that up to the public as well, right?
Yes, that was also a bit unexpected because it's still research work. So that's really cool.
That's awesome. And I also really enjoyed having a look at your website and being able to actually see the cells and the signals that are going in there. So I definitely recommend everybody to check that out, finalspark.com. It's really intriguing. And Fred, when we look at a cell like that, what are we actually looking at and where do you get the cells that you work with?
So 2 questions here. The first thing is that we are using so-called stem cells. Okay, so human stem cells, and they are obtained, surprisingly, from skin cells. Therefore, we specialize them to become brain cells. So that's it. And we can make millions of them. I would say, it's virtually free because its life just duplicates.
And who provides their skin cells to FinalSpark? Like, how does that work, practically speaking?
I don't know who was the original donor, but I guess it was many years ago. And then from then they created the stem cells that many researchers in the world are using.
Interesting. And does it matter whose stem cells you work with, or in terms of the functionality for your purposes, they're all comparable?
I don't know. And I'm not sure people are clear on this. There is certainly some differences between the neurons of each of us, okay, for sure, okay. Consider also that even in your brain, there are many types of neurons. So even in your brain, there are many differences. So at this point, we say, okay, we consider only the cells from one donor, you're right, okay, but there are plenty of ways to differentiate them, different types of cells, and see what are the best for our purpose.
Got it. And how do you get stem cells to develop into brain cells?
So there are so-called protocols, okay, for this. Basically, it's about adding the right molecule at the right time. So it's like this. These cells always live in a liquid medium. And you have a lot of things in this liquid medium. You have vitamins, amino acids, but very specific molecules that you have to introduce at the right time, and that are going to force the stem cells to stop being stem cells and to start being brain cells. And there are many protocols in the world that already exist, and many more yet to be discovered.
Okay, fantastic. That's fascinating. And so let's assume you've taken one stem cell, you've sort of induced that at the right point in time to develop into a brain cell. Then you start working with it as if it were, so to say, a transistor. Could you tell us what inputs and what outputs are in the setup that you're currently using?
Well, the fact is that we are not working with a single neuron, okay? We are going to create thousands and thousands of them, okay? And there are other protocols that enables to create organoids, brain organoids. So brain organoids is going to be a 3D structure, like a small ball, if you want, of thousands of neurons connected together. So this ball is about 0.5 millimeter in diameter. So you can see them actually with your eyes. So that's the good news. And then how do we communicate with them? Well, we just put them on electrodes. As simple as this. And with these electrodes, we can communicate in both directions. We can listen to them, to their electrical activity, or we can send signals to them.
And is there activity without you sending any signals?
There is so-called spontaneous activity. This is extremely important for us. If a brain organoid has no spontaneous activity, if you go on the website, for instance, you will see the failure of this weekend. This is interesting. There was some new protocol that we tested this weekend, and we can see that there is on MEA4, there is no activity at all. This is live on the website. And so we were having a meeting this morning when we decided that we are going probably to stop the experiment with those particular ones because there is no spontaneous activity.
But isn't spontaneous activity interfering with the goal of making a computer out of these neurons?
Yes, very. This is one of the problems. Like, you want spontaneous activity because it means that they are electrically active, but you don't want too much of it. Okay, so there is a sweet spot. From this, we are going to generate conditions in which the responses that we get from them are more predictable than the spontaneous activity that they have.
Got it. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And Fred, could you explain to us why organic tissue is so efficient? Like, how is that possible? It's absolutely fascinating that something that's sort of evolved not necessarily with that purpose in mind is so much more efficient than the best and the most efficient computers out there.
Well, I'm sorry, but I don't know the answer to this question because this is a very fundamental question. And you're right. The efficiency ratio is something like 1 million.
Wow.
So this is not, this is really first order difference. This is absolutely fascinating. This is really a mystery, particularly given the complexity of these neurons.
Yeah, exactly. But there's currently no clues, no theories about why that could be?
There may be some theories, but I don't know them actually.
Okay.
And we're looking at it like a fantastic opportunity. So this is how we are.
That makes a lot of sense. And what needs to happen for this to work? Say to have a computer out of organic tissue that could compete or do similarly complicated computations as, say, an average laptop, what would need to happen?
One of the most important thing is to be able to train them. Okay. Training, let's talk about AI, classical AI. Okay. Training has been the big thing for the past 30 years. And 20 years ago, when Professor Lequin found a way to train the neurons, it made a whole difference. Suddenly, it was possible to train them to do something useful. Okay. And this is the same situation, actually, with our biological neurons. So this is the big thing which has to happen in order to use them for tasks which are even pattern recognition or things like this could be done this way.
Got it. Okay. Could you zoom in on that a little bit in a higher level of detail? What do you, as FinalSpark, need to develop to be able to train the neurons that you work with?
Well, it's always about finding the good methodology. So basically, we have fundamentally two ways to interact with those neurons. One way is with electrical signals. And this is what I'm doing at this very moment with you. I'm training you about biocomputing, but at the end of the day, I'm only using electrical signals, nothing else. Okay, so this is proven to be efficient for training. But there is another part, is chemical stimulations, like, for instance, dopamine. We may also use it. So we are using a combination of electrical stimulations and like dopamine and other neuromodulators to induce training.
Got it. And in terms of keeping the neurons alive, like how does that work? And what would you need to develop to make sure that you really have a set of neurons that can last and that you can do continued computational?
But first, just to put in perspective, when we started, it was like we put the neurons on the electrodes, 1 hour later, they're all dead. So it was like this. And but we were already happy to see some action potential. But today, we're about 100 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's way, way more, okay? So we worked a lot. So more than 3 months. So we can do better. I'm sure about this, no doubt. At this point, we stopped working on, I would say, life extension, and we are more working on the training, which is the core of the topic.
Got it.
But it's a lot about microfluidics. How do you bring the nutrients to the neurons in a consistent manner so that they feel happy?
Interesting. So is there a road where you build neurons into lab of a chip kind of solutions where you can sort of get the nutrients in the right place with a very high level of precision? Or is that not something you're exploring?
Well, this is a bit what we already have, actually. We have, if you came to the lab now, what you would see is tubes everywhere, with pumps everywhere. So, and this is really working 24/7. So it took us a long time, actually, to tune all these parameters. One parameter is critical, dead again. Okay. So this is part of the thing. You have to consider also the temperature, the acidity of the medium. There are so many parameters, you have to get them all right. And the last thing probably is the connection with electrodes. And this is a very well-known problem in electrophysiology. Neurons don't like too much to touch electrodes, but we need them actually to communicate with them. So there is some work to be done here.
Got it. How does it work software-wise? And maybe this is just way too far ahead, but like, would you be able to use the same kind of software, or would a biocomputer need a completely different set of low-level and high-level software to work with?
So we developed an API, application programming interface, actually, so that the universities can connect to the neurons and, I would say, discuss with them, okay? So there is already some kind of interface to discuss with them, but it's too low level at this point. It should be higher level at the end. Like, for instance, I give you a set of images, cats and dogs, okay? I expect answer on this electrode means a cat, this electrode means a dog. So you have a training set, and you make sure that dogs are cats. Okay. So these are the kinds of high-level interface that we have not built yet, because it relies on the assumption that we can train them, and the methodology to train them is still in development.
Got it. Yeah. So it's also not the right time to spend a lot of time on that at this point. And Fred, what makes you confident it'll work?
Because it already works in your brain.
I saw that one coming.
it's a very conservative approach. Okay.
But outside of eventually, it's probably more about like getting it to work in a very different environment, right? You can't make it work inside the brain. So you need to get the training right, and you need an environment where the neurons can sustainably do compute without dying, basically.
Well, if you tell me, is there some challenges? Yes. There are many challenges, okay? But if I look at quantum computing, which is another direction of unconventional computing method, I would say, okay? And if you ask them, Mr. Quantum Computer Experts, can you do AI with this? They are in a more difficult situation than us because we already have these brains working, billions of brains working around the world. But it doesn't answer to your question, which is, okay, it's working in vivo. Okay, how can I make it work in vitro? Well, there are a lot of things which need to be developed, of course. Okay, this is why we are all working on this, and this is why we set up this in more than an open innovation environment. So in not only our ideas, all universities have all different ideas, and we want to listen to everyone because it's the new frontier.
Yeah, and it's super exciting to work on. I'm super impressed with where you are already. How can people engage with FinalSpark, like, say, researchers?
Well, on the website, there is a web page entirely dedicated to people who want to access to the neural platform. Okay, if they have a good project, they write their project, and we see if that makes sense. We give free access to the neurons, and we train them, and we give them some support to help them to use this.
Got it. And you're raising money now, 50 million euros, you mentioned.
Yes.
You've been in business with FinalSpark for 10 years already. Could you elaborate a little bit on why now, and also what you think you can achieve with that amount?
Well, what we can achieve with that amount is primarily hire more people. This is a big effort that we have to run, and there are many different expertise to make this work. Because there is electronics, there is microphysics, there is programming, there are biology, a lot of biology. So I need a big team. Right now we are 6. So that will make a big difference. And we need to be fast, actually, because there are more and more people interested by this. And that's right, it's not our first company.
Got it. And what kind of investors are you looking for?
We are very open, actually, to investors. The primary thing is that we are not contacting investors. The idea is that they contact us because the type of investor we are looking for are inspired investors. People who say, yeah, that's wonderful, I want to be part of it. And so I would say, surprisingly, I got already several investors who wrote me last week following a number of articles that popped up everywhere on the internet about what we are doing. Mm-hmm. So investors wrote exactly this way. And I'm excited to talk to these people, but most of the time they are deep tech investors, clearly. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm sure they'll be able to appreciate the potential here, but also the challenges that you face for developing a company to where you want it to be. Fred, I want to talk a little bit about your other company as well before we continue talking about FinalSpark. AlpVision, you founded that in 2000. Could you tell us a bit more about how you started the company, what it looked like at the time, and what it looks like now?
So when we started, I did that with Dr. Kutter. So Mr. Kutter and myself, we were doing our PhD in the same lab at the EPFL, Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Lausanne in Switzerland. And we were working on steganography, which is how to hide invisible information into pictures. And we came up with a number of ideas. And then the PhD was completed. And we decided to create a company trying to leverage what we invented. It was, I would say, this was 99% failure. Everything that we started, that we wanted to sell around this technology was a failure. But except one thing, which was the use of this technology for detecting fake products, counterfeit coming from China. So that means having something which is invisible, which is on the box, and you can detect with a smartphone. Mm-hmm. But at the time, it was document scanner. Because there was no smartphones. And how did it look? Well, it looked like it was in a garage, basically, because we had one little inkjet printer, like the one you can buy, everyone can buy, and a number of pieces of paper, and there was almost nothing actually. And but I was very surprised. A number of big companies trusted us very early. They trusted us more than us actually, so that we could do something useful for them. So, and then we get a first customer, a second one, and at this point now we are securing 30 billions of products per year.
Wow.
So it's 1/3 of the number of neurons you have in your brain.
Wow. Yeah.
Each year, this is 30 billion more. So, and with 250 printers in the world printing our technology, and hundreds of thousands of people using our smartphone application. So it was incredible success.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. And that answers the last part of the question to some extent as well. Like, what does it look like now? And Fred, could you elaborate a little bit on the technology? Like, what makes what you print so hard to replicate for the companies that would be interested in that? So the counterfeit producing companies.
Well, the first thing which is striking with what we invented is something that you cannot see with the naked eye, and you can detect with a smartphone in real time, instantly. And that's very surprising, because normally a device that can give you instant conclusion on something that you cannot see, and a reliable conclusion, because it should be reliable if it tells you it's the genuine products. It's a very challenging thing, okay? And it's only about mathematics. At the end of the day, it's only that.
Interesting. Okay. Could you tell us about different phases of development? So you've mentioned basically the very beginning and the very end now, the garage with the one shoddy printer, and now, basically securing 30 billion of goods. Like, could you tell us a little bit about the phases of the development of the company in between?
The beginning was very much trial and error. We tried to sell this to the army, to the national banks, to everyone. Okay. There was one bank who had some counterfeit problems of paper. So it was documents. It was not product yet. Okay. And then with this, we made, I think, 5,000 euros selling a first pilot system. And then the bank was happy with this. And they ordered maybe for something like 40,000 euros per year to use this on millions of their bank slips. And then we thought, okay, here is our market. It's banks. So for 1 year, we only talked to banks. And what happened is that we never signed again with the bank. So this was the first lesson. Is that not because it works with one that is you are going to replicate? Because we always dream about this as startup. You can replicate, you can scale, but no, this was a failure. And then we had a big tobacco company who was interested. Then financially, this was really helpful, okay? And then we thought we could make all tobacco company. That it was not the case like this. But the third time, it was pharmaceutical company, big pharma company. And yet this time, we signed with many other big pharma companies. So with the type of business model that we have with CH is a yearly royalty. So each year I'm going to invest 100,000 euros or 1 million euros just for the right to use the technology. So it's fundamentally a profitable business. So from there it took off quite quickly.
Got it. And does the value of the royalty correlate with the value of the volume of goods that is being secured?
Yes, it does a lot. But most of our customers will have big volumes. So for us, a small customer is producing 10 millions of units per year. A correct one is 100 million. An interesting one are over 1 billion per year.
Great. And so and so this is all about finding that product market fit. You found it eventually in a repeated way. After that, was there a distinct phase of maybe, getting your operations up, growing the team, I'm assuming, all of that? Could you speak a little bit about how that went down?
Yes, well, it's the two co-founders, Mr. Kutzer and myself, we have a PhD. So it gives you the taste of the whole company from the beginning. So it's a very techy company. So the first people that we hired were also having PhD. Okay, and actually, the majority of the people have PhD in our company. So it was really focused on the technological performance. way little on the sales and marketing. Okay? And still in the culture of the company, we have office in New York, in Shanghai, but it's still very techy company. Maybe we are wrong on this. Okay? and more, it's about a cultural company. And do you want to scale or do you want to be happy in life? This is very important. Okay, and scaling and getting big quickly was not the objective. The objective was to have a very profitable company. So never any financial worries. This does not happen in our company. That means quality work. When the customer comes, we don't care about how long we are going to work to make it happy. It has to be perfect. However, we have a real selection process for having a customer. 90% of the prospects, we're going to push them back because they are not ready to spend enough money, so we can be relaxed on the financial side. So it's a very strange strategy, select only the top.
And you can probably only do that when you have something truly unique.
Yes, that's right. Of course, at the end of the day, it's only about performance, okay? And barriers to entry. And what is interesting is the barrier to entry, of course, today is not software. It's nothing, okay? But mathematics is a very strong barrier to entry. Many people know how to program. Few people really understand the mathematics. And even if you think about Google and Larry Page, what they did at the beginning is only about mathematics, having a rapid referencing system.
That's great hearing as well, because there's so much depth in a lot of mathematics, but it's oftentimes hard to find real world applications. Google is probably a great example. AlpVision is a great example. Do you have other companies that you're excited about seeing about how they apply mathematics in real world solutions?
So apart from Google, which is, I was very impressed when I saw this equation with eigenvectors and eigenvalues. They were having a poster like this. Whoa. This was the foundation. It's incredible. But there is another company which I know, which is optimizing consumption of microprocessors by encoding the data on the digital buses. And this is only mathematics. I can also mention Kudelski. This was for conditional access to TV. Only mathematics about encryption system. And there went more than 1 billion of euros of turnover. Okay.
Fantastic. Must be very joyful for you to see develop as well. And Fred, you already alluded to a couple of lessons, but when you zoom out and think of AlpVision and your journey from the year 2000 till now, what have you learned about starting and running a business in the process of building that company up?
Well, I learned so many things. That's incredible. First thing I learned is that I could do it. Which was not obvious because when you have a PhD, it's not very good actually for a number of people that say, well, you cannot be a CEO. You're a technician, basically. And you will never be able to do something else. So first learning is that, yes, if I really want, I can learn how to sell, how to do many other things that you have. And also to be open for trial and error. We did a lot of this. Lessons learned. We do this a lot, particularly on the contracts. The business model is extremely important, but as you said before, it's good to have a wonderful business model, but for this you have to have a product market fit, which is a dream to impose your because I had many times customers say me, Fred, I'm not going to pay you, 300,000 euros per year. Well, I mean, just for the right to use. Why would I do this? Okay, so so the argument should be only, well, look at the performance. Do you have an alternative? No. Then you are in a good situation. So, but the number of things also managing people, and this is, the number of things I had to learn is incredible in every field. There is a word that I learned, okay, which is holistic. When you solve problem in a company, you always have to do it in a holistic manner. So that means HR may be connected to patent strategy, maybe connected to communication, and to the bits and bytes of the algorithm that you're implementing.
And maybe if I rephrase the question a little bit, there are tons of learnings, but when you would talk to the Fred of the year 2000, what are the top 3 things that you would tell him to get to the same place quicker without less problems along the way?
Well, the most important thing is to stop believing in my visions and just consider the facts. I mean, talk to customers. What they are selling is the truth. No matter what your wonderful theories are. And what matters is how much are they ready to pay when. And then let's articulate the product in order to fit exactly. Even if it's different from what we had in mind and from our strategy. Strategy doesn't matter. Forget about the strategy thing. So, just fit.
Got it. And build something that people not only want, but that they're willing to pay for.
Oh, yes. And there is a big difference that we learned also along the way. If people tell you, incredible, the number of people say, yeah, Fred, that's fantastic. Please do this for me. Then I do it. And then people let it. So what we learned very quickly is that if you're interested, you are going to pay, let's say, 3,000 euros. It's not a lot. It's nothing. Okay. Just to have a small demonstration. You don't want to pay for 3,000 euros. I know you're not going to pay for 300,000 euros ever.
Got it. Yeah.
So it's the first filter.
Got it. So it's let go of visions, talk to customers, and also make them commit to whatever they tell you they want or would pay for later down the road.
Yes.
That makes sense. And so you found yourself founder of AlpVision. Everything was going crescendo. Yet still you decided to make your life harder. You started FinalSpark. Could you tell us a bit about your motivation and your drive to really build something truly, truly exciting, but also truly challenging?
Well, first as a child, okay, I always wanted to make a thinking machine. Like I was 12 or 13. So I spent all my time, my hobby, coding. So it's not appeared like this. And there was also a relation to money. When you're at the beginning, the problem that we had is really to have money to make a living. This was really in 2000. And then we passed the point where the company became profitable in 2003. So we could make a living of this. And then we thought, oh yeah, maybe the next thing is to get rich. Wonderful. And then we got rich. So what? The next interesting thing is not to get richer. It doesn't make sense at all, okay? And so what is really important for us, okay, as technical people, Mr. Couture and myself, okay, it's about making things and technology that can transform life. So that's game-changing. And then we came back to AI. And then from AI, we realized the best way to proceed was not to use artificial neurons, but biological neurons.
Got it. And is it what attracts you to transforming the world? Is it the challenge of developing something new? Is it seeing something work? Is it sort of aligning reality with what in theory is possible? Like, what is it exactly that triggers you there?
Well, personally, I've always been fascinated by artificial intelligence, okay, recreating artificially the intelligence. This is striking, I think. And there are many ways to do this that we are considering right now. But we couldn't follow the usual path. It's impossible because the big ones were already there. So we had to follow paths that nobody is looking at. Nobody even understands. So this is why we went the biological route. But there was also this consideration of energy. When we started FinalSpark in 2014, we went with artificial neurons, which were specific types of, which are called spiking neurons, which are much more realistic neurons. But at the end, we had thousands of neurons, only thousands of artificial neurons, consuming kilowatts of energy. And then we were in front of these servers that we bought, saying, okay, we need to simulate 100 billion. It's not going to work. I mean, each time we have 2 kilowatts of power of the server, we had to add 4 kilowatts for cooling it. And our brain is 20 watts. We are just using the wrong tool.
And Fred, you quickly mentioned, because of all the success of AlpVision, things were going well financially, but it wasn't really motivating to work towards getting richer and richer. You told me about your car park and what it told you about happiness, and that yet you didn't really get that out of buying a faster and a more shiny car. What's your theory about that? So many people still seem to chase financial success rather than developing something new, building something revolutionary. And what would you say to them?
Well, I think surprisingly, you have to get to a point where money is not an issue anymore at all to realize this. Because already, people tell you, but it doesn't mean you anything. When you are not able even At the beginning, we had not enough money to live. So, but when you get to this point, then you realize that what people are all saying is actually true. And you have to have project that makes sense in the sense that you need to have a purpose in what you do.
Yeah, got it. But you need to experience it and feel it really to be able to get it, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Got it. You founded FinalSpark with Martin. Also, you also founded AlpVision with Martin a long time ago. What makes your collaboration so good?
This is a mystery, because I'm a Swiss-French citizen. So I've got this kind of French character for the good and the bad. And he is a Swiss-German. So Swiss-German is totally different, okay? They're not supposed to be cool guys, okay? So and there is a very good match on the technical part. And on many things, even on the commercial strategies, so we align very, very well. And for some reason, it's very complementary. And the people in the company always tell us this, oh, this is wonderful. You create, an efficient team, both of you, to manage the company. But I don't know why.
But in terms of complementary skills, like what is it that makes you so complementary yet so compatible in terms of your technical understanding?
Maybe there is a little bit like I'm the one who gets a bit wild. He's the one who makes it real, who can help to make it real. Okay, There is something around this, around creativity and constructing it.
Got it. And that sounds like a really great balance to have in a company, especially an ambitious company. You need both. And Fred, I've seen other companies that seem to do very fundamental research. Some would argue the kind of research that happens or should happen at universities equally. I think very many, or there are very few universities that are as well equipped for the research that, for example, a company like DeepMind is doing. Thinking of Basecamp as well, pretty fundamental stuff they're doing, but also definitely FinalSpark. What are your thoughts on the role of universities versus research companies in terms of innovation?
I don't know how to answer to this. It's a very strange situation because we are a small company, very small, a startup actually, okay? And we are doing fundamental research. And the reason is that we could not get funding from the government. They would not give for us because we are not a university. So it's a very strange situation that ourselves, we are actually working with universities for free to help them work together with us. So I don't know how to articulate. I'm not sure there is another solution than the one which already exists between universities and companies. But it's really strange, actually, this situation.
I mean, ultimately, it's about getting the right amount of resources, society's resources, into innovation. And I'm just, it strikes me that there's more and more companies that do fundamental research rather than universities, and are also able to raise much more funding, move faster. I have the impression. So in the status quo, it seems like a very good development. But I'm wondering, does it also not point to a lack of funding and a lack of resources at the universities?
Yes, I think there is something with companies that universities don't have. It's again about purpose. They have a purpose. And a purpose inspires people, focuses the mind on one very specific objective. While in universities, you are just trying to explain one thing and then 6 months later, something else. And there is no specific purpose and focus.
Got it.
So this may make one difference.
Yeah, that's an interesting difference. And in terms of the people, not only at universities, but in general, I think you started as a researcher. You're now an entrepreneur for a long time. When you zoom out and think of the kinds of people that make it as an entrepreneur, what sets them apart in terms of how they're wired versus others, versus employees or researchers?
Well, there is a common point that I've seen in many successful entrepreneurs is that they have, for technological companies, okay, this is only what I know, technological companies, okay, is that they are good technical people themselves. So they know what is possible, what is not. And at the same time, they understand how sales work. When you have the two things in the same mind, it helps tremendously to have a coherent offer.
Got it. And did you yourself change as a person through your work in founding AlpVision and developing the business?
Well, I changed in the way, for instance, I'm communicating with you right now. Okay. That was absolutely impossible. 20 years ago, because I was, behind my computer. This was my preferred place. And now I love being in situations like discussing with you. So this is a major thing, because I realized that if I have wonderful ideas, but I'm not able to communicate them, they're useless. And it's a pity for everyone. For me, obviously, but also for the people who could use them. So let's learn about communication, and that enabled a lot of things. Yep. This simple fact of communicating.
Yeah, we're grateful for being able to follow along. Can you imagine you were much more technical in terms of your communication before you started the company?
Yes, actually, I would even avoid to communicate as much as possible.
Okay, that doesn't help.
But it's like most of the people in my company are actually like this. They are in front of their computers or their cells, and I want to stay focused. I don't want to interfere or to discuss with people outside of the company. So
got it. One of the founders we had on the podcast earlier, Kim, said that starting a company is a self-development vessel disguised as a business opportunity. So I quite like that metaphor, and I see a lot of founders that change a lot through their business, actually. What would you recommend someone that's starting and building a technical company right now?
So I think it's very important to try quickly something, okay? Not something perfect, something even... At the beginning, I tell you what we were doing. We were not even doing demonstration systems or what. We are just doing one-page flyer describing our product like if it was already there. And it was not there, okay? But we know we could do it. But it's not worth doing it. This is what we realized quickly. It's enough to show exactly to the people what you pretend to have and see if they get excited. So it's the right way. When we are a technical guy, you believe that you have to do things first in order to present. And most of the time, this is a mistake, because you can work months and years to prepare your product, which does not have a good product with market fit.
Yeah. I think it's a recurring theme. You mentioned that in terms of your lessons for yourself when starting AlpVision as well. Fred, I'd love to get into your brain a bit more even. I imagine having done a signal processing PhD, having developed the technology for AlpVision and now for FinalSpark, you have a really good focus and are able to sort of chew on a problem and chip away at it until you're there. Could you explain how you focused and if you've done so, what you've done to further improve your focus on a specific technical problem?
Well, I had a big exercise of focusing when we started the biological part of FinalSpark, because I did not know anything about biology. So it was really about learning from scratch, okay? And becoming someone who can do cell culture by ourselves. This is what we did, actually, okay? You first set the objective. The objective is, I want to have cells here in my lab. So this is below. So I have to build a lab. I don't know how to build a lab. Actually, I don't know how to grow a cell. Okay, where can I learn this? So we found a way. And you know what we had at the beginning? We put a GoPro on the head of a technician who was, she was actually a PhD, who showed us how to manipulate our cells and pipettes. And then we were passing the videos to know how to handle this. So it was focus. What do I want to do? Okay, so what are the ways to do it? And what do I have to learn? Okay, but it's always about the learning something at the end, okay? And how I'm going to fit that in my schedule so I allocate enough time with discipline so I learn it. So this is what we did.
Got it. And is there also a biological or psychological component to it that you do, say, I don't know, sports, or you meditate, or you eat certain things in order to sort of get yourself in the right mindset to learn as quickly as you can?
So there is a more fundamental thing on this, and this started with AlpVision, okay? We said things like, we are not going to mess with our private life, okay? So that would be, okay, should have child, spouse, everything should be quiet and cool, okay, at home, very important. We should not work on weekend. Actually, we should not work too much, surprisingly, okay? And that set up the whole financial strategy of the company was around this, fundamentals. Okay. So on this, you can always add, of course, sport and nutrition and all this, okay? But the fundamentals have to be good. You come home, you're relaxed, everything is fine. You have to wear no worries. and you can think about something else. Normally, I don't work at all on the weekend. Okay, still we're managing two companies. So I think it's very, very important, this equilibrium.
Got it. Yeah, that was the word. Like balance was the word that popped up in my brain.
Yes.
And a happy family life.
Yeah.
How come you think that was so obvious to you as a building block and as the fundament to start a business, right? Because there's also founders that say, hey, I put a mattress in my office and I sleep 3 hours a night and all I do is working on the business. Like, how come you had that conviction?
I don't know. I mean, it's always, the purpose is we want to be happy. I want to be happy in life. Same thing as before. Let's be focused. Okay. So what are the best way to become happy? If for someone is sleeping 3 hours a night, perfect. I mean, but that was not my thing. It was it was more a routine when I have. Okay, I have also people, professional people I interact with all day long in the companies should be people I'm happy to work with. I should laugh at least every hour. Okay, with people. So that's the fundamentals. So I'm not only happy at home, I'm also happy at work. And I'm happy to do this because I'm happy to work with these people. So that's the fundamentals. The objective is being happy. So what do I need? And for instance, the HR. How do you hire people? This is one of the mechanisms you have to take into account if the objective is to be happy. It's different if you want only strict performance in KPI, okay? But if you want to be happy, you want certain kind of personality.
Got it.
So this is selection process, AlpVision and FinalSpark, a bit around this kind of things. Okay, if people smile and relax, and that's a very good point. It's not enough, of course, but
not everything, but a very good starting point. Great, Fred. Thank you so much. Those are really wise words to end on, and I hope a lot of the listeners will take that at heart as well in their own companies. Thank you so much for telling about FinalSpark, AlpVision, your personal journey as well. Before we wrap up, are there any last words that you would like to share? Anything you'd want to ask or mention otherwise?
Well, there is something quite obvious actually for entrepreneurs, is that if you don't follow your dreams, you will work for the dreams of others. So that's...
That's beautiful. Thanks for those wise words, and I hope folks will take that at heart as well. Thanks, Fred. We wish you all the best with FinalSpark, with the fundraise, and we'll be applauding you from the sidelines and hope you'll achieve and get where you want to be as soon as possible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.